Dude, a lot of recapping to do tonight. That stays in. That's the YouTube intro, folks.
Yeah.
YouTube intro. I am exhausted. Oh, man. But
watching football is such a hard job.
Mentally exhausted. I'm in a good exhausted, Dave. Good exhausted. All right, we're going to get started. Please hit like. Please hit subscribe. We're going to recap every game, give you the big winners, the big losers. Remember, we have YouTube exclusive content Tuesday night, Thursday afternoon, Sunday morning. Great stuff. Let's go. Well, it looks like the top wide receivers are going to be duking it out all year. That was pretty awesome. Looks like the first-round running backs, they're going to give you some headaches. Of course, those would be week one overreactions, but we do have plenty to talk about on today's show. Unfortunate injury news, T. Higgins with the concussion, Keenan Allen with the hamstring injury, hopefully Najee Harris, not too serious of an injury, but of course, Elijah Mitchell, that's just a heartbreaker. Saquon Barkley, is he back? Justin Jefferson, is he the best wide receiver in football? He's determined to make you think that. Let's go. I'm Adam Mazer with Dave Richard and Heath Cummings. Special surprise Sunday night guest. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Jamie Eisenberg wanted to join us.
Hey! Wow.
Well, you grace us with your presence, sir. What's up?
Well, I'm in between hits, so I'm sitting in front of the camera anyway. I figured I might as well. When I saw your email about the notes, I'm like, oh, they're about to start. Let me see what they're up to.
All right.
Yeah.
And listening to your welcome to YouTube.
Yes, for those of you who don't know what Jamie's talking about, please go check out my YouTube intro. It was one of my best. All right, let's start with our biggest winners and biggest losers. Give me one from each of you. Heath, biggest winner in Fantasy Week 1.
I don't even know if I sent this to you in text, but it has to be Saquon Barkley because the Monstars gave him his talents back. And Saquon Barkley is Saquon Barkley again. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
Congratulations. You're going to have the 9th pick next year instead of the 6th pick. It's going to be awesome.
Where does that win rank for you in the last 5 years?
The best win by any team in the last 5 years that I've ever rooted for.
This is Saquon Barkley's first time above 500 in his career, I believe.
Oh, God.
Is that a fact?
Probably true.
Wow, he's above 500 for the first time, and Sean McVay under 500 for the first time.
18 carries, 164 yards, and a touchdown, and 6 carries for 30 yards. And if you didn't see it, I mean, he just looked terrific. We don't have to get into that. He's obviously a winner. And, I don't know. Do you want to talk about where he's ranked? We don't have to really rank him rest of the season, right? He's a must-start. Number one.
He might be number 2 behind DeAndre Swift. It's Swift and then Barkley.
All right, if you have Saquon Barkley, Saquon Barkley, you're offering Barkley for McCaffrey for sure, right?
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
I have 2 leagues with Barkley and McCaffrey, and in one of the leagues, somebody we're just talking trash, and the whole league was, and some guy says if Jamie gets Barkley and McCaffrey healthy the entire season, there's no way anybody's coming close to this. Yeah, it doesn't even matter the rest of my team.
Dave, who's your big winner from week 1?
Oh, dude, I'm thrilled about James Robinson. Not only did he play, not only did he score 2 touchdowns, he played exactly 50% of the snaps for the Jaguars, and I think that number could actually go up in the next couple of weeks. Very excited. I got him in a bunch of leagues. Anybody that drafted him, I think we were expecting that maybe Robinson would be a factor starting in October, but not this Robinson, maybe the other Robinson on the team that he played today. And he looked good. He looked good based on what I saw on TV. So happy to see James Robinson back and happy for fantasy managers that took the chance on him.
One of my buy or sells, I think this is a pretty big storyline. So let's do it now. Let's do this. Buy or sell, and then Jamie, you can give us a big winner. Khalil Herbert, Darrell Henderson, James Robinson, and Michael Carter will all be the best running backs in their respective backfields. Khalil Herbert, Darrell Henderson, James Robinson, and Michael Carter will all be the best running backs in their respective backfields. Buy or sell, Jamie?
I don't think all of them, so I'll sell, but some of them, yes.
Can I buy for week 2 and sell for rest of season?
For how many of them?
I think I probably buy they're all the best backs for week 2.
Khalil Herbert, Darrell Henderson, James Robinson, Michael Carter. Who in that group is going to be the best running back in their backfield for the full season?
I'd say Henderson right now.
Yeah, but is he going to last the season?
I mean, you can say about any of them, though.
Is Akers?
Yeah, it's true.
The more like
I
you
don't
see
know
of
if there's
things
one
that
that
Akers
will
did wrong in
for
that
sure
Thursday
do.
night game, the more ugly it looks.
Yeah.
I think Robinson probably has the best chance.
I agree.
I mean, Michael Carter with a big win in week 1 over Brees Hall too.
He did.
That's the most troubling one.
Did Brees Hall lead the team in targets?
He might have. If it wasn't
Carter
him,
had
it
9,
might
right?
have
How
been
many Hall?
Carter.
They
I
both
think he led the team and Carter was second.
Yeah.
what
Brees
59
had 10, Carter had 9, Corey Davis
Welcome,
had
Joe
9.
Flacco.
It's hard to
Yeah,
call
it all
a rookie
changes
running
with
back who
Wilson
sees
back.
10 targets in week 1 like a loser.
But he is, isn't he?
Absolutely, he is.
I mean,
He
look,
had
he did have
6
10
carries.
targets. The Jets threw 59 times, right?
Right.
So it's
Which
still a
they're not
great
going to do
number.
every week.
But is Brees Hall not a loser?
Huge loser. But he was a loser coming in when we got this stuff the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind trying to buy low on Brees Hall this week, I don't think.
Okay.
Yeah, if you have the ability to wait it out, he should be the better of the two long term, at least the hope.
Jamie, I know you're a big ETN guy, and ETN should have caught 2 touchdowns today. He dropped one, and he was overthrown on one by Lawrence. He needs to stop missing people who are open. But Jamie, how you feeling about the Jaguars right now, that their backfield?
I mean, obviously, I'm not as encouraged by ETN, but I still think he's going to play a significant factor. So I think both these guys are going to matter. As Dave said, Robinson's back sooner, back at being, I don't know, great, but back at being, a significant part of this offense and looking pretty healthy. He's by far, if you look at the Achilles injuries and, what Cam Akers looked like last year, again, being the circumstances of what it was for him and the teams he was facing, Robinson just looked explosive, which was fun to see. So hopefully that's the case moving forward. But I don't think ETN's done by any stretch. And so I'm curious to see what happens against a very good run defense next week for the Colts.
Okay, Jamie, who's your big winner for week 1?
Michael Thomas, welcome back. Great to see him perform like he did. And, a big part of the Saints comeback. For a guy that's never scored double digits in touchdowns, he's on pace for 36, which is fun. So, the Jameis to Thomas connection took a little while to get going, but once it got started, hopefully it's never going to stop again. So ugly first half for Jameis, ugly first half for the Saints, but great rally by them and great performance by Thomas.
Can I make fun of University of Florida now since you did the math wrong on Michael Thomas?
Oh, 18 weeks.
34.
34.
All right.
Yeah. Bad weekend for the Gators. Bad weekend for Tony. Bad weekend for McPherson. Bad weekend for who else? Oh, Damian Pierce. Bad weekend for the Gators. Yeah, rough.
Yeah. All right, just Jamie, since you're hopping off soon, give me your biggest loser.
I guess Pierce. That was I should go start of the week. That was just bad by Trey Lance. Obviously weather was frustrating and no Kittle was frustrating, but he looked awful. And so we'll see what he does next week against Seattle. It's a good bounce back spot for him because it's the Seahawks coming on a short week going on the road. They'll be at home, so it's a good setup for him to bounce back, but I don't know how many people are going to trust him. I mean, he wasn't even started in 50% of leagues to begin with. And so I wouldn't drop him. I wouldn't do anything crazy like that, but I think better days are ahead. But if he has another game like this, you're going to see Jimmy Garoppolo out there probably for the 49ers. So big loser for Trey Lance and bad call by me at the start of the week.
What did you guys think of that game? I mean, how much are you putting on the weather and the field conditions? And because both quarterbacks obviously struggled, but hey, it might not have been the weather.
No, that game I watched, that one and the Eagles and Lions probably most closely. And the first 2.5, 3 quarters, there may have been little spurts of significant rain, but it wasn't bad football weather. The last quarter and a half was just a miserable monsoon and shouldn't be held against anybody. But the first half plus of that game wasn't that bad weather-wise.
Okay. Dave, your biggest loser.
Biggest loser, Amari Cooper, who had 6 targets, caught half of them, had 17 yards. Jacoby Brissett looked awful. You can throw David Njoku on that list too. I was a big fan of his. Somehow he still outperformed Cole Kmet. Cooper just absolutely was not a significant factor at all. Browns were able to win running the football. That's how they're going to want to win every single game this year. Very nervous about Amari Cooper until when is it, 13? When he'll be back? When Deshaun Watson will be back?
Yeah.
And able to help us?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bad start for Cooper. His best play was when Brissett threw across his body on a bomb into the end zone. And it was a poorly thrown ball. And CJ Henderson, another Gator, went and like grabbed him, tackled him to the ground, and he drew a defensive pass interference penalty because of Henderson just grabbing him unnecessarily in the end zone. It set up a Kareem Hunt touchdown.
Well, yeah, so good for him.
Adam, I have
I got no
to
fantasy
go.
points for that.
I have to go, but help me with the math here because obviously I'm not good at it. How many catches did Kareem Hunt have today?
I think he only had 2, right? I know he caught a touchdown, but let's see. Kareem Hunt had 4. Oh, 4. Damn it. He had 4.
What's our pace?
That would be 68.
No.
Right? Wait, 17.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. Good math.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so you're on pace.
Night.
You're on pace for the over. Our bet is 60 catches for Kareem Hunt. I took the under.
Yes, and then you have to shave your eyebrows.
What? I don't think that was part of it.
I think you have to shave your eyebrows and then glue the eyebrow hair under your nose for a mustache.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right, fine. That makes
sense.
He said okay. That's
Gotta
it.
go bye, Jamie. Later, man. All right. So Heath, who's the biggest loser this week?
Another one I didn't send you via text, but they're all coming to me now. It's obviously Kadarius Toney. This week's all about the Giants, really.
I agree.
Yes. Apparently, the coaching staff hates Kadarius Toney. Richie James is better than him in their eyes. So is Wan'Dale Robinson and Sterling Shepard on one Achilles. He did not. I think he played 2 snaps in the first half. Did not earn a target in the entire game, and had 2 rush attempts in the fourth quarter.
7 snaps total.
And this was with Wan'Dale Robinson being injured early in the game and not playing any more snaps.
Yeah.
He's like wide receiver 5 currently. There was a period of time when he was just sitting on the bench by himself, away from the rest of the team, not talking to anybody. Then he tried to pretend like he was a good teammate or that he was not sad anymore. But I don't know
his 2 carries were very impressive. 23 yards on it. No, it's a shame. Should we drop Kadarius Toney or give him another week?
Oh, I don't know if you can feel good about. You can carry him on your bench if you want to just see what happens against Carolina next week. Eventually, you'd think that he'd be a much bigger part of the offense because he's such a playmaker. But there's clearly something that's not connecting there. If he's barely playing and he's not getting targeted and he's not running many routes, obviously because he's not playing, he's not getting targets. He's going to have to like show out in practice before he plays. Who knows when that's going to happen?
We should probably just start Sterling Shepard.
Well,
nobody's starting Kadarius Toney, and you could cut him for somebody off the waiver wire. His roster spot should be available. Sure.
They threw 21 times for 188 yards. So, I guess if they throw the ball more, Shepard.
No, he wasn't playing. It won't help if they throw the ball more. If standing on the sideline.
I'm talking about Shepard, but it wasn't like a great day for Shepard. He had a 65-yard touchdown catch, but 4 targets, 2 catches, 71 yards, and a touchdown. But it was a great day for players coming back, and no joke, from players coming back from Achilles injuries. It was a great day to see that this is not a career ender. This is not something you can't recover from. Robinson back, Shepard back, Okudah back for the Lions. And I think it's encouraging because you just wouldn't expect that, a few years ago for 3 guys to be able to contribute in week 1 coming off torn Achilles, especially for Shepard. It was so late in the year. All right, let's get to the big news in just a second here. We do have a lot of other podcasts that are just as good as Fantasy Football Today. I mean, you love our show, right? Well, CBS Sports podcasts are freaking awesome. We've got a combat sports podcast. We've got Nothing Personal with David Sampson. We've got college football. We've got college basketball. We've got Pick 6 hosted by Will Brinson. We've got the best lineup of podcasts. Please go to cbssports.com/podcasts and check them all out. All right, the big news. Patrick Mahomes hurt his wrist. Doesn't seem serious. They're going to do some tests on it. That's not the headliner right now. Hopefully,
it was his left wrist, not the one he throws with.
Okay. But T. Higgins left with a concussion in the first quarter. In 2 games without T. Higgins last year, Tyler Boyd had 17 targets, on 50 Joe Burrow pass attempts over 2 games. He caught a touchdown in 1 game. He had 118 yards in another game. Tyler Boyd will be a hot waiver wire candidate. And Keenan Allen left in the first half and still led the team in receiving because Joe Burrow threw 34 passes and no one had more than 4 targets. But Keenan Allen left with a hamstring injury, and that just stinks. I mean, that stinks.
You meant Herbert there.
What did I say?
Burrow.
Yeah, sorry.
There's a lot of football players. It's hard to keep track of them.
It's not like it's my job. Anyway, Justin Herbert threw the ball around. He spread it around. Nobody had more than 4 targets.
4 yards away from going over his player prop total.
So if you were going to pick up a wide receiver, would it be Josh Palmer? Would it be Tyler Boyd? Would it be someone else?
Oh, if Higgins is going to be out for a while, I love the idea of Tyler Boyd. I would take him ahead of Palmer. We just saw what happened in this game. Herbert spread it all over the place. Everett had 4 targets. DeAndre Carter had 4 targets. Palmer had 4 targets too. He just didn't do a whole lot with them.
Yeah.
Mike Williams had 4 targets.
Boyd is 54% rostered. Heath, how about you? Who's your favorite in these two situations?
Yeah, I think it would be Boyd. The Chargers situation is a bit mystifying without Keenan Allen, just because he's been such a huge part of that. I don't feel confident Palmer's just going to take Keenan Allen's targets.
I feel pretty confident in this. I believe there was only one game last year that Allen didn't play, and Josh Palmer had a pretty big game. But Jalen Guyton might have also had a big game. That was against the Giants. Elijah Mitchell left in the second quarter with a knee injury. So is Jeff Wilson the waiver wire headliner?
Probably.
Maybe. Chris Towers has been on Jordan Mason, who's an undrafted rookie that I think the 49ers like a lot. And I wonder if he could end up being the guy. It's somebody I'm going to have to do a little studying on tomorrow.
But Mason was active today.
And
it
Davis
was pretty
Price
much
was not.
all Wilson, right?
Yes. And Wilson had a fumble late. Like, it was just it was
overturned.
Okay, but he still coughed up the ball.
Yeah. But in that weather, yeah.
The other thing that you've got to worry about is Debo clearly is being used as a running back.
Yeah.
And he's still really freaking great at it.
Yeah.
So even if
it
was Jeff Wilson is the main guy, even Wilson's the main guy, Debo's going to take work away. I don't know how big of a priority I would make Jeff Wilson.
It's a terrible contract to give a running back.
Jeff Wilson played 4 games last year without Elijah Mitchell. He had 20 touches, 13 touches, 23 touches, and 17 touches in those 4 games. So, I mean, certainly we're going to tell you to pick up Jeff Wilson. We'll have to reassess. We don't know the severity of the Elijah Mitchell injury as it is, but we'll let you know.
He gets hurt all the time.
Of course. Najee Harris left with an injury. That one doesn't seem to be bad right now, but we don't know.
This is the Lisfranc, right?
It was a foot. I don't know if it was the Lisfranc.
I mean, he had a Lisfranc that they told us something different about during the preseason.
What?
And then he was on the sideline and got mad and threw his shoe and pointed at his foot.
Okay, so it doesn't sound great, but year one is TJ Watt. He might be lost for the season with it could be a torn pectoral. And
he was saying it as he walked off the field.
He
went
was
right to the trainer,
destroying them.
Yes,
destroying the Bengals. Yeah. All right, so we'll keep you posted on Najee Harris. Who's the handcuff there?
Jaylen Warren.
Jaylen Warren played 100% of the snaps after Najee got hurt.
Very nice blitz pickup.
Yep. Yeah, he'll be the one.
Mac Jones
but that offensive line was so bad.
Mac Jones has a back.
How bad was it, Dave?
Yeah, no, it was bad. Of course it's bad.
It looked like 5 Dave Richards blocking for Mitchell Trubisky. That's a nightmare.
The last significant injury to talk about is Mac Jones. Back injury, x-rays were negative. Guys, I don't know, but if Mac Jones doesn't play, I'm just going to have trouble starting Patriots wide receivers.
Maybe they'll bring back Cam.
Bring back Cam? All right, guys.
I don't want to start any Patriots.
I really stepped in your joke there. I'm sorry.
Thank you. That's okay. That's okay. Don't step on this ad read for SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the best app to get tickets, the only app that you need to get tickets. I use SeatGeek all the time. I'm religiously on SeatGeek looking for price drops for the Miami-Florida State game. Unfortunately, they are going in the other direction, but that's okay. But if there's a concert coming to town, any type of game, any sport, you pick it. Go on SeatGeek. This is the place to go, and we've got a great offer for you as well. But I can tell you that I personally is the only site I use. You will not need another site. They pull in tickets from all over the web, so you don't have to go searching all around. You just go to SeatGeek.com or you download the SeatGeek app and you search for your event. You're going to find great prices. And they have this very easy to read chart. Green dots, big green dots is what you're looking for. Those are the best values. The red dots, those tickets are overpriced. So they tell you what the best values are, and you can get $20 off your purchase. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to SeatGeek.com or download the SeatGeek app. Get $20 off your first purchase with our promo code. It is FFT. The promo code is FFT. For $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. SeatGeek, get your seat in a seat. Download the app today. And again, that promo code is FFT.
Adam?
Yes, sir.
Jeff Miller of the Los Angeles Times says that Keenan Allen indicated after the game that he didn't think his hamstring injury was serious. The team is saying that they're not sure yet about the severity, but Keenan Allen seemed to think that he would be okay. We will wait and see.
I got to tell you, this is a tough show because it's like I don't want to spend too much time on any one thing because there are so many things to talk about. But whenever you have one game, like if Mike Williams had a bad game in week 7, we might not care. But somehow Justin Herbert has a huge day and Mike Williams gets 4 targets, and that was weird. DJ Moore, I'm not picking on Heath. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. DJ Moore had a bad game. Michael Pittman was incredible. He looked like he could be a top 5 wide receiver. The wide receivers in general were much better than the elite running backs. Cordero Patterson. So anyway, my point is I'm going to let you guys do the talking. We're going to fly through these topics. We're going to get to the games, and let's do some buy or sell. My first one was buy or sell. Saquon Barkley is back. I think we're going to buy that, right?
Yes.
How about this? Buy or sell A.J. Dillon, who had 10 carries to, I think, 5 for Aaron Jones. A.J. Dillon will be better than Dameon Pierce and Breece Hall rest of season.
I think I had A.J. Dillon ranked ahead of Dameon Pierce and Breece Hall in my final redraft rankings. So, yes, I believe that.
I did not. I did not have it, but I wish I did. I will buy it as well.
I might have had Pierce like 1 spot higher. It was right in there, but yeah, I buy that.
The problem is that if we're buying that and A.J. Dillon's going to be a good fantasy running back, what does it mean for Aaron Jones? What does it mean, man? Because he could end, it definitely looks like they're splitting snaps fairly close to 50-50. And Dillon, I believe, had the edge on short yardage goal line and third down snaps in this game. Facts, he did. Small edge, but an edge nonetheless.
Aaron Jones had 5 carries. It was, I don't understand it. He picked up 49 yards on those 5 carries, but it was not a good day for Aaron Jones.
I was surprised at how little he caught the ball. But they looked terrible. They need their offensive tackles. It was a really bad day at the office for the Packers. Hopefully that's something that they can reverse. Remember, week 1 was for them last year was even worse. I had another buy or sell. Well, I already gave the one about the backup running backs. How about Devin Duvernay, 2 touchdowns today, or Kyle Phillips, 6 catches, 66 yards on 9 targets to lead the Titans? Should be rostered in at least 40% of CBS Sports leagues next week. Devin Duvernay or Kyle Phillips, they are basically completely unrostered.
Right, they're available. You can get them anywhere.
Should be rostered in at least 40% of leagues.
I think I like Phillips better. And he still made mistakes in the game and did well. And usually that's the signal to Heath to tell me that I'm off base here and that I should go with Duvernay. But I can't imagine Duvernay is going to catch 2 touchdowns a week. I can't imagine that he's going to continue to see targets and Mark Andrews gets nothing. I think Phillips is that lock in the slot. I think he's going to keep getting targets and catches each week.
I would lean towards Phillips. I'd like to know a list of players that are rostered in approximately 40% of leagues, because I don't know if I know what that. Like, that seems like it's maybe a little high for those kind of guys. We're going to cycle through these types of wide receivers throughout the year.
Right. We've got to talk, I guess, a little bit about the waiver wire. So I'll ask you for an early look at the waiver wire. Jeff Wilson obviously is going to be, well, let's say the 49ers backfield. We'll sort it out. Probably the Chargers and Tyler Boyd and maybe Josh Palmer or something. But, who else are our fantasy managers going to need to add this week? Anyone really jump out at you?
We're going to need more injury information, like maybe Jaylen Warren.
Anyone that's not injury related? Anyone who just performed? Sterling Shepard.
What about O.J. Howard?
O.J. Howard, 2 touchdowns.
He had 2
targets,
targets.
2 targets. Yeah, he did. People are going to ask about Taysom Hill. And is Taysom Hill somebody to pick up off the waiver wire because you can use him as a tight end?
If you can.
If you can. You can on CBS. Do so at your own peril, man, because he's not a typical tight end. Doesn't really catch a lot of passes. Is going to have a long run or a touchdown.
Here's one. Here's
Yeah,
one.
go ahead.
Why would you drop George Pickens for Jarvis Landry?
Man, I don't want to. Because
Right.
I love the talent, but it's pretty clear that the Steelers offense has some flaws. And he's not going to be a top target getter there. Pat Freiermuth is a winner, by the way.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Tons of targets, made some big plays. They had a flea flicker design to him. I mean, they love him. It sounds like he's going to be a pretty good steal for fantasy managers who took him. I think I'd have to take Landry over Pickens. I don't like it.
Wow, really?
I don't like it.
I mean,
the name of the game is stats.
Underrated day today, huh? 7 catches, 114 yards. He is 43% rostered.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something else. The Saints offense looked like poo-poo for the first half of the game. There were a lot of teams that just looked terrible to start, especially at the 1 o'clock games. It was like everybody's alarms went off an hour late if you were playing in the early games. But once Winston got going in the second half, the Saints really started to look good. They look like a better team.
Could anyone relate to that? Alarm going off a little late? Yeah. All right. Oh, I thought you were because Heath was like a little late to the 8 a.m. show today, and I saw you smile.
No, my alarm was. I got up about 5:45 this morning.
Okay.
I don't know why we're going to bring it up the time that Heath's the one causing us to be late.
Your fault, Heath. Remember,
I saw you smile when Dave said that, so I thought that happened.
I'd like to see our on-time percentage as a collective group.
People were talking about Curtis Samuel, Jahan Dotson.
Yeah,
Dotson. It's almost like the O.J. Howard situation, though.
Yeah.
Well, at least he had 5 targets.
Yeah, he was clear. I think I'd have to prioritize Curtis Samuel over Jahan Dotson right now.
Yes, I would too.
He's the wide receiver too right now.
11 targets for Curtis Samuel. Would you prioritize Curtis Samuel or Jarvis Landry?
Samuel.
Feels gross, doesn't it? But I think I'd say the same thing.
I mean, are people going to prioritize Carson Wentz?
You could, but I don't think anybody prioritizes quarterbacks except in 2 quarterback leagues, and Wentz was already taken in 2 quarterbacks.
I wish I'd have made a Carson Wentz versus Derek Carr bet.
See, I think a similar.
Let's see if you say that like 3 weeks from now.
a similar thing to dropping Pickens for Jarvis Landry kind of feels like dropping Trey Lance for Carson Wentz, which I wouldn't do. I could certainly see Wentz having a better season, but I feel like Carson Wentz is probably who he is. Had a great day today. I'm not super jazzed about it. And I personally feel that way about Landry, but I don't know that Pickens. If a rookie wide receiver is going to be good, I've learned my lesson, man. You should not drop him after week 1. You should give rookie wide receivers a little bit of time to get things going. I don't think Pittsburgh had the ball very much, if I recall. I think Cincinnati absolutely owned time of possession. Pittsburgh's offense really sucked. So that was part of it. But okay, listen, we got a whole Tuesday show for that, right? Pittsburgh had the ball for 26 minutes and 17 seconds in a game that went to overtime, almost the entire overtime.
Yeah, and Pickens played a lot.
All right. Anyway, sorry, back to the notes. So let's see. We did buy or sell. We did waiver wire. Let me ask you, which busts were you concerned about today? Which players sorry, this wasn't already in the notes. Which players that had bad games were busts today? Like Aaron Rodgers comes to mind. He scored
Trey Lance.
points.
Trey Lance is definitely one of them.
Who, if anyone else that you're concerned about sounding some alarms?
Montgomery. And I thought he made a really nice move on a 16-yard catch he had in the first half. And the times he got the ball, it was the same thing as always. Like he's dancing to beat 3 guys. And Khalil Herbert got it 2 times on one drive with a hole. And he hit the hole really well. And then he got a drive. They were kind of going 2 for Montgomery, 1 for Herbert, 2 for Montgomery, 1 for Herbert. And Herbert got a scoring drive, and they just kept him in when they got inside the 5. That's a bad sign for David Montgomery.
Okay.
I'll tell you what I'm worried about. We didn't really touch on it, but one of my losers was just Patriots. I think everybody on the Patriots was a loser today. Damian Harris led them in snap share with 39%. Ty Montgomery was next, not Ramondre Stevenson, but it was closer. Ty Montgomery was at 35%. Ramondre was at 26%. And that whole third down stuff that Belichick tried to feed us. Oh, yeah, Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson are both good third down players. I had oatmeal today. Look, Montgomery played 8 of 9 of their third down snaps. He also caught a touchdown. It was a terrible looking touchdown. He had to go low to catch a ball. He was laying on the ground. Nobody touched him. He rolled into the end zone like a child on a hill. But he scored, and that's what got him the fantasy points. But it's going to be a mess as long as one of those guys doesn't get hurt. So I would be nervous if I drafted Harris reluctantly, or if I drafted Ramondre Stevenson excitedly, or if I drafted Ty Montgomery for any reason whatsoever.
What about Rashad Bateman? I know he caught the touchdown there, but what you guys make of, I would tell you, that was one game that I watched a lot of, and Lamar Jackson ended up with a pretty good game. And
well, he started off horrible, just like a lot of other teams did.
But he didn't play that well. So if he had a good game today, he could have scored 4. I think I'd be encouraged if I was a Lamar Jackson manager, because he cobbled together a good game on a kind of an off day. But for Bateman, he had the long touchdown, but I don't know. It's kind of a weird day for the Ravens offense. What'd you think of Bateman, guys?
I mean, I like that he got the deep ball for a touchdown. I like that he went back to him after he did nothing in the first half, that Jackson went back to him. But you can't like that Duvernay caught all 4 of his targets. You can't like that Likely didn't catch any of his 4 targets, or that Demarcus Robinson got 4 targets. So there's going to be some significant competition. And again, talking about Mark Andrews, he led them in targets with 7, didn't have a great fantasy game with him, but he's still going to be the number 1 guy as far as targets goes in that offense. Bateman could be number 2, but there's just so much competition that could keep him limited to that 5 to 7 targets per game range that I think he's going to need a lot of touchdowns like today, big plays like today, for him to finish as a number 2 receiver this year.
We had him ranked pretty close to wide receiver 30. And I think wide receiver 30 is going to have a day like this with 5 or 6 targets and 2 or 3 catches. And you should feel pretty good about the fact you got a touchdown on this day. And there will be days where he has 8 targets and catches 5 or 6 of them for 80 yards. Mm-hmm. I'm not changing my opinion on him based on this game.
Juju Smith-Schuster or Bateman?
Juju.
I think I'll take Juju in PPR. I think you could probably make the case for Bateman and none.
All right. I see somebody here say DeAndre Swift was a big winner. Jay Savage is saying that. Let's get into our winners and our losers. Look, man, DeAndre Swift obviously had a great game, but
he looked like the best running back in football.
I know. They shouldn't be splitting carries like this. It's ridiculous. And Jamal Williams got 2 goal line touchdowns. So there's nothing wrong with DeAndre Swift, but imagine how good he could be if he was the goal line back and was like a 20-touch guy.
I love Jamal Williams so much.
It's so annoying.
He's fun,
and Swift was celebrating when Williams scored.
Because they're teammates, and that's what teammates are supposed to do. Swift played 13 of 14 third down snaps. Jamal Williams played 6 of 8 snaps inside of 10 yards. So I think you know the roles. I think you know what they're going to do.
But right now, his value is DeAndre Swift's value at its absolute highest point right now. Should you actually look to swap him for like a Najee Harris? Assuming
not for a Najee.
Let's say Najee, because you're worried about the foot.
Yeah.
No, because I didn't like Najee Harris before the season, so I don't like him.
How much would you have to give with DeAndre Swift to get Eckler? Eckler didn't have a great game.
That's a good.
If you're trying to buy low on Eckler,
I don't want to give a lot more though.
I know, but that's the type of move. You still, even with this great game by Swift, you still have to give something with him to get Eckler. In a full PPR league, you might be able to turn him straight up into Derrick Henry. I don't know if you want to do that.
I think I do.
You probably if you're worried about Swift as far as like health and being available to play, then sure. I think Henry will play more games. And I'm sure that Henry will have many more games where he looks dominant. And today isn't a microcosm.
He's playing the Giants. Give him a break, man. Like he's playing the
This was a game that he should have absolutely popped off for 100 and a touch.
I'd rather have Henry than DeAndre Swift. How about you guys?
I think I would, but I think it's pretty close.
Yeah, I would.
Barkley's an interesting one. I think you might rather have Barkley than Swift at this point.
Adam?
Yes, sir.
I try not to spoil Sunday Night Football for you anymore.
Oh, no.
But I just want to tell you that I just happened to open my phone to see what was going on in the game. And currently Ezekiel Elliott is averaging 5.4 yards per carry. And Tony Pollard is averaging negative 4.5 yards per game.
I'm DVRing it. In fact, I forgot to put it on the TV.
And guess who has the longest catch for the Bucs so far?
That's the next thing I was going to say.
Who is it? Julio?
Yes,
Chris
Julio.
Godwin.
Chris Godwin?
Godwin.
All right. I think I started him in a league. I think I had no
didn't.
choice.
And if you love field goals, you'll love this game so far.
All right, winners. Dave's winners are Pat Freiermuth, James Robinson, and Cordero Patterson. Dave, give me a quick talk on Freiermuth and Patterson.
Freiermuth was very involved in what the Steelers were doing. He was both a short and intermediate target. He had 10 targets in the game and no touchdowns, still gave you 12 PPR points. I think he's a week in and week out starter for you at tight end. Pretty good game for him.
Patterson? Wow. Well, yeah. So first of all, Damian Williams got hurt. I don't know if I mentioned that.
No, you didn't. And Tyler Algier was inactive.
Right. So,
but, I mean, the way that Patterson played, and again, another player who started off a little slow, but then once he got cooking, man, he looked like his old self from last year. He looked like Cordero Statterson.
he
looked a lot more like his old self than his young self. That's for sure.
Right. Which is great. That's what we want. But I think the Falcons have no choice. They've got to keep rolling with him now.
Yeah. So he was only started in 31% of leagues. Patterson had 22 carries for 120 yards. Both of those were career highs and a touchdown, 3 catches for 16 yards.
You should be excited if you have Patterson on your fantasy team, but you can also try and trade him because there are a lot of unhappy fantasy managers with their running backs, and you might be able to turn him into a receiver that was drafted ahead of him, but maybe a pretty good receiver on the strength of this
I know.
game.
How about, would you trade Cordero Patterson for Allen Robinson?
No, I don't.
No.
I'm done with Robinson.
No.
Okay.
I've seen enough.
All right.
Coach's film was not kind.
Heath's winners: Clyde, Jarvis Landry, and Cordero Patterson. Now, before we get to Clyde, I'll just let you all know. Yes, Isaiah Pacheco had 5 more carries than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Pacheco had almost all of them on the last 2 drives of the game, and it was a blowout. So, yeah, I mean, what do you think? Clyde Edwards-Helaire had just 10 touches, caught 2 touchdowns. Big winner for you?
He was playing inside the 5-yard line. He was being used in the passing game. He looked very spry. He was hugely successful in a big win. It's exactly the recipe for him getting to, I think he is in a precarious situation, maybe even after this game and moving forward. And I think if something goes wrong, Pacheco is showing things and McKinnon's there and things could still go bad for Clyde. But I think he secured his spot with this game. And he's got a little bit longer leash than he had.
Okay. How about Jarvis Landry, 43% rostered? We talked about him a little earlier. 7 catches, 114 yards, 9 targets. Anything else? Just we already.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Landry earlier too. Like he had more target. He was the leading receiver. Had more targets in this game than Michael Thomas. Does not seem like. And again, don't drop Chris Olave. I think he'll get involved at some point. But right now, it's just Thomas and Landry.
All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about the big losers from Fantasy Week 1. We'll be right back on Fantasy Football Today. Go to Heath's losers. Breece Hall started in 46% of leagues, and he did get 12 touches in the game. Michael Carter had a really, really good game. Evan Ingram, who had 4 targets, 4 catches for 28 yards, and Robert Woods, totally silent. 1 catch, 13 yards on 2 targets against the Giants. Breece Hall, Evan Ingram, and Robert Woods.
Gross, and grosser. It was awesome that Hall was so involved in the passing game that the Jets already trust him to do that. I think that's a huge thing in his favor for maybe a monster second half. But Michael Carter's going nowhere after a performance like that. Breece Hall's locked into a committee for longer than we would like. I think if you drafted him as a number 2 running back, you should just change your vision of him and he's your flex now. And it might be a boomer bust flex situation. But I still think there's hope for the second half of the season. It's just going to take him longer to overtake Michael Carter than I had hoped.
As far as Ingram and Woods go, hang on to them or look to the waiver wire?
I don't need to hang on to Evan Ingram. I might try to hold on to Robert Woods. I'd probably try to hold on to Robert Woods for 1 more week, but I don't need to hold on to Evan Ingram.
Robert Woods or Curtis Samuel?
I would hold on to Robert Woods. I've never been a Curtis Samuel believer.
Me neither.
Had to go over to the sideline limping one time in this game. I'll give Robert Woods one more week, but Evan Ingram, goodbye.
Dave's losers are Trey Lance, Amari Cooper, and the Patriots. I'm sorry, Dave. I think we talked about all of them.
We did. We don't need to beat any more horses.
How about the family members of the day? The St. Browns both caught a touchdown within minutes of each other.
That was pretty cool.
And EQ St. Brown, Equanimous St. Brown, both catching touchdowns. Very cool. Congratulations to them. A few other news items here before we recap the games. Rams center Brian Allen is out 2 to 4 weeks with a knee injury. And Rams running back Kyron Williams is out 6 to 8 weeks after ankle surgery. And Sean McVay said Cam Akers has to do more maximizing the opportunities he gets.
Yes, you must do more with those 3 carries.
Yeah, right. The Jets put their left tackle Dwayne Brown on IR. Let's see.
2 teams with terrible offensive line play, the Jets and the Rams.
Yeah, and the Ravens lost their left tackle for the season.
They sure did.
Well,
that was their backup left tackle.
Right.
Ronnie
Stanley could be back soon, hopefully, but Juwan James is out for the season. Harrison Butker left in the first quarter, but heroically came back and drilled a field goal at the end of the first half. Wan'Dale Robinson left with an injury. Kansas City rookie cornerback Trent McDuffie left with an injury. Patriots safety Adrian Phillips, the same thing. Jameis Winston threw for 24 yards in the first half. And that's incredible. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, speaking of incredible, he just tied TJ Hashimazili, if you remember that football commercial, that fantasy football commercial. He tied TJ Hashimazili for now the 5th consecutive game with 8+ catches and a touchdown. He and TJ Hushmanzada have that record, 5 straight games with 8+ catches and a touchdown. Amon-Ra St. Brown.
What a pair. That's something.
You guys remember that commercial?
Yes.
I think it was actually an ESPN commercial, but it was a fantasy football commercial.
No, it was for NFL's fantasy game.
Okay. And it was like they were doing a draft, and this guy was about to draft, and he goes, Hashimazili, put him on the board.
He didn't know how to pronounce his last name.
All right. Let's start with I always put these in sort of like a chronological order, the way they're listed on CBSSports.com. I should really rearrange them for interest, but if the game sucks, then we won't spend that much time on it. Heath, it's your time to shine with Believe It or Not for Baltimore 25 and the Jets 9.
Believe it or not, Elijah Moore is the number 3 wide receiver on the Jets.
Nope, don't believe it.
Nah, me either.
He was 3rd on targets behind Corey Davis and Garrett Wilson. And the most annoying part of this entire equation, obviously, is that Corey Davis led the team in targets. I was concerned about his contract not going away. And in fairness to him, he caught 6 of 9 targets for 77 yards. It's not like he's doing a bad job.
He led the team, didn't he?
It's Corey Davis.
Led the team in all regards. Well, no, I think Breece Hall led the team in targets. He led the wide receivers.
No, he led the receivers. Okay.
It was very evenly distributed. You had Barrios with 6, Moore with 7, Garrett Wilson with 8, Corey Davis with 9 targets, and then, of course, the running backs. And as I mentioned earlier, 59 pass attempts.
And that's the thing is, like, if you assume, I wouldn't go all the way to half, but, like, even if you said they're going to throw 40 passes a game, you're chopping these targets a third off of them. So now you've got Corey Davis with 6 and Garrett and Wilson and Elijah Moore with 5 targets apiece.
It's a pretty bad schedule for them. Their next 3 games are Miami, New England, and Buffalo. Oh, yeah.
The Jets?
Jets, yeah.
No,
that's not right, is it? No, they've got
the Browns, the Bengals, and the Steelers.
That's the Ravens' upcoming schedule. They basically swap schedules. The Ravens' next 3 games, the Ravens' first 4 games are against the AFC East, and the Jets' first 4 games are against the AFC North. So I'm sorry about that. They have the Browns, Bengals, and Steelers next.
And then after that, it's the Dolphins, the Packers, who I still think are a good defense, despite what happened to them today. Denver after that, and then New England, and then Buffalo, and then a bye. Brutal schedule for the Jets.
Anything else on this game, guys? I'm going to call J.K. Dobbins a big winner.
Whenever he comes back. Did you hear Jason LaConfora on Fantasy Football Today earlier today?
You would not be calling J.K. Dobbins a big winner.
Yeah, exactly. He thinks that it's going to take more than just 1 game for Dobbins to be ready to go, and that they're going to have to ease him in, and he may not be the J.K. Dobbins of old until the midway point of this season.
Okay, I hope that's false, but
And he's
his word.
he lives in Baltimore. He's connected to the Ravens. That doesn't sound very good.
Cleveland 26 and Carolina 24, Heath.
Believe it or not, Baker Mayfield's actually not an upgrade for DJ Moore.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to believe it.
No, I don't believe that at all.
No, I don't think he's worse.
He's definitely an upgrade.
Yeah. This is going to be one of the do not like most of Believe It or Not this week's probably just going to be me not believing things that happened yesterday. But this is definitely one of those. It was a disappointing game. But they just got destroyed by Myles Garrett for a good portion of that game.
So what do you think's going to happen when they go up against? I mean, they've got the Giants next week, so that should be good. But and then they've got the Cardinals 2 weeks after that, but they've got the Saints in week 3, the 49ers in week 5, Rams in week 6. They're going to have some tough matchups.
They will. I don't think
I'm not panicking on DJ Moore.
Right.
But I'm a little nervous that the target volume, that spike that we were hoping for, may be just very sparing.
Well, look, time of possession
might just be what it is.
Ever gets talked about. They had the ball for 21 minutes and 34 seconds. So it's hard to be good.
Yeah.
What was that?
It was nice, wasn't it?
Yeah. I love Sunday night shows, man.
Well, what happened?
I cannot say.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
No, my wife sent me a text.
Ooh.
Okay.
FFT after dark.
All right, so McCaffrey, disappointing game, but whatever. Thankfully he scored. Let's talk about Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt here. Chubb with 22 carries for 141 yards. He had 1 catch. Kareem Hunt had 11 carries, 46 yards, and a touchdown, and he caught a touchdown. He was their second leading receiver behind Donovan Peoples-Jones, who had 11 targets. But Dave,
weird.
What do you think about Chubb and Hunt going forward? They get the Jets next week.
I like the matchup for them against the Jets. I don't think the Jets' run defense is good just because they stopped the Ravens' running backs. That's not a big deal. Hunt played more snaps. He was playing the majority of third downs. They obviously like to use him in the red zone. They had a play drawn up for him with Chubb on the field. Chubb's still a great talent, too. I think they're both usable. The story really hasn't changed. And you're going to start Chubb each week. And Kareem Hunt should be in your RB2 considerations. If you're using him as a flex, then you're really winning.
Colts 20, Texans 20.
Do we have to hold on to Amari Cooper for 11 weeks and wait for Deshaun Watson to come back?
Well, if you don't, someone else will. So it's a choice you'll have to make as a fantasy manager, how long you want to stick with Cooper.
But he's the only one, right?
Yeah, you can definitely move on from Njoku if you want to.
All right, Colts 20 and Houston 20. Pretty disappointing tie for Houston. Probably a game they feel like they should have won. What do we got for Believe It or Not?
What's more disappointing, the tie or the fact that Dameon Pierce got treated like a rookie? Like big time got treated like a rookie.
Adam, I
Yes,
need
sir.
you to come up with some sort of punishment you can do to us, preferably like electric shock therapy next year when we get excited about somebody in the preseason. When somebody does something good in this preseason and I get excited about them and I say something good about them, I would like for you to push a button that shocks me and says, don't do that. Preseason things are not real.
Yeah, well, I mean, everything was pointed to him, leading the team in carries, at least you would have thought. It ended up with Pierce with 11 and Burkhead with 14. Burkhead had 5 catches. Pierce had 1. I did not really like Pierce this week because, like I said, he didn't face a first-team defense all preseason, but maybe it's just going to take some time. It usually does. Unless you're talking about a first-round pick rookie running back, it usually takes time for them to claim that job. So I guess maybe we shouldn't be too surprised, but maybe we shouldn't be too panicked about Dameon Pierce.
Don't drop him. No.
No, of course
You
you're
can't
not.
start him probably at Denver next week.
Oh, let's
No.
wait and see.
Just
What
a bench
about
player.
picking up Rex
He can sit
Burkhead?
next to Amari Cooper.
Because Burkhead might have the passing down. That might not change. And he had
He
5.
did on Sunday.
Yeah. So what about picking up Burkhead at 20% rostered?
I don't think I'd target him over the other running backs that might be available on the waiver wire, the guys that we talked about, the Jalen Warrens of the world and others of that ilk. But if you're in a deeper league, of course you should pick up Burkhead. He played almost 75% of the snaps today.
I think he's probably more valuable in leagues with deeper starting lineups too, like double flex leagues. Because I could see him being a good second flex in a PPR league.
Until Pierce takes over. Who knows when that'll be. Hopefully sooner than later. Texans also didn't have any snaps inside the 10-yard line today. So we don't know if Burkhead is also their short yardage goal line guy.
Where the Colts ran 90 plays compared to 68 for the Texans.
90 plays.
By the way, did Davis Mills score the most points of all the year 2 quarterbacks? He must have, right? Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, Davis Mills, and who am I forgetting?
Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor
Lawrence.
That guy, the one who was number 1 overall. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he scored more than all of them at 19.
Radical.
Jonathan Taylor, 31 carries. Matt Ryan, 50 pass attempts. He gets Jacksonville next week, who just got shredded by Carson Wentz, so that'll be interesting. Anything else from this game from a season-long perspective?
Are you happy with Naheem Hines getting you 11 PPR points?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
Worth holding on to, right?
It's fine.
I like
Washington,
that Taylor caught 4 passes. Oh, Alec Pierce had 2 end zone targets. I believe he dropped one of them.
He did. All right, Washington 28, Jacksonville 22. Heath?
Believe it or not, James Robinson will be the best running back in Jacksonville this year.
I'll buy it in non-PPR. I'm not ready to buy it in full PPR.
Man, I don't know, Heath. I don't know. I think so. I think he will be.
Round 2. Believe it or not, Antonio Gibson will be the best running back in Washington this year.
I like how they used him. They went pretty far with the targets and the catches. And that's part of the reason why I think Samuel did well. I wonder if when Robinson comes back, if he's the guy that we saw in the preseason, I think that might kill Gibson and Samuel. Do I think he's going to be the best running back in Washington all year? No. I think Robinson will catch up to him. But this was a very nice game for Gibson.
We'll talk about Zay Jones on Tuesday. He's 4% rostered, 6 catches, 65 yards on 9 targets. I'm
almost had a touchdown too. Just thrown a little wide of him.
I'm worried I'm going to get too excited about Christian Kirk, but this was a terrific debut. 12 targets, 6 catches, 117 yards.
Mm-hmm. No, he was used well. He was good.
As of now, he's got to be considered a must start, right?
Yes. I'm pretty sure Devin Lloyd is rostered in enough IDP leagues to not be a must add in IDP.
Okay.
11 total tackles for him.
Miami 20 and New England 7. It is just weird that the Dolphins are just clearly better than the Patriots. It's just bizarro world right now. But Miami 20, New England 7.
This is a disappointing opener for the Dolphins, right? Like they got the defensive touchdown and they beat the Patriots. Like for their fans, it's fine, but for like the Tua experience,
no, it wasn't like a fireworks show.
Believe it or not, you should not start any Patriots ever again.
Like for the rest of our lives.
In
For
week
now,
2.
I believe that. Yeah, this is exactly what we didn't want to see. Pittsburgh.
They've
and
got some
Baltimore and
tough
Green Bay next
defenses
week.
coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't trust them.
Bench them all. Put them with Amari Cooper and Damian Pierce.
Yep. You're left with no one to start.
We need more bench spots.
What do you think about Chase Edmonds? He had 12 carries, only went for 25 yards. Raheem Mostert, 5 carries for 16 yards. Edmonds did have 4 catches. So that's 16 touches compared to just 6 for Mostert. And that's encouraging. Not a great game, but encouraging usage, I'd say. Do you think that continues going forward? What are your thoughts on Edmonds here?
More encouraged than discouraged.
Okay.
I don't know if he'll ever be a true running back without, like, he's an air back. He's great through the air. He's good on the edges. I don't know if he'll ever be like the prototypical running back. And I don't know if they've got one. Mostert might be the closest thing they have to it. But they had a hard time committing to like grinding down the clock in the fourth quarter. They ended up throwing a little more than we thought that they should.
It was nice to see Tyreek Hill be a number one receiver. And of course, I wouldn't say he got lucky on Waddle because that's what Waddle does. 42-yard touchdown, catch and run. He's that good, but he only had 5 targets.
Right. That part's a little scary.
Would you rather have Chase Edmonds or Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
Clyde.
Yeah, I think Clyde's offense and his role might make him a little better.
Okay. Oh, that was another buy or sell of mine. Buy or sell, the Chiefs' offense is lost without Tyreek Hill.
Oh, yeah, they're just horrible shape.
They really need a more accurate passer like Tua.
New Orleans 27, Atlanta. That's good. That's good. Atlanta 26. Talk about a disappointing loss. Wow, the Falcons. They seem to have a lot of these types of losses. Saints win by 1. Heath.
Believe it or not, Drake London's a start until further notice.
He's a flex. I don't like the matchup next week.
We didn't really like the matchup this week.
No, I didn't like the matchup, but he got you 12 PPR points. It's okay. I think he'll be right around there.
What it really should have been was we should sit Kyle Pitts next time he plays the Saints. That is now, I believe, 89 receiving yards on 19 targets in 3 games against the Saints.
Oh, that's good because that makes me feel a little bit better about it. You had 2 pretty huge busts in this game. You had Alvin Kamara, who had 9 carries and 3 catches, and Kyle Pitts, who had 2 catches for 19 yards. So any concerns about those guys?
I hate that Taysom Hill is still a thing because he's taking numbers away from the run game for New Orleans. It's brutal.
Yeah, and Ingram's a thing too. I mean, Ingram is gonna Alvin Kamara. When you compare him to the guys that were drafted in his range, well, I guess if you compare him to like DeAndre Swift and Aaron Jones, they have the same types of concerns. In fact, he has probably fewer concerns at the goal line. But compared to guys like Najee Harris and Joe Mixon and Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara has a lot more concerns at the goal line than those guys.
Yeah,
sure. But I'd love to buy low on Kamara.
10 offensive
We've seen him start
plays.
slow before.
10 offensive plays that went to either Ingram or Taysom Hill.
How about Alvin Kamara or DeAndre Swift?
I'll stick with Kamara for at least one more week.
I think so too.
Philadelphia 38 and Detroit 35. Bonanza. Heath.
Yeah. Believe it or not, Jalen Hurts should have been QB1 this week.
Why? What happened?
3 rushing touchdowns from the 1-yard line where Hurts was tackled, Goddard was tackled on a passing touchdown. Like, it was almost an enormous day. He scored 24 fantasy points and was responsible for 1 touchdown.
Yeah, it was a terrific day for him. 90 rushing yards. Fine, I'll believe. No, I'm not going to believe it. Patrick Mahomes was 5 touchdowns.
Exactly.
No, believe it or not, Mon-Fri St. Brown's a top 20 wide receiver until someone takes targets from him.
Yeah, I believe
Like
that.
Jameson
Especially
Williams
if you think, like, my biggest argument against St. Brown all offseason is there's no way he's going to keep getting a ton of targets. Well, here he was getting a third of the targets again for the Lions. If it's going to continue, then obviously he's going to be great for fantasy.
Mm-hmm. So I was encouraged by Miles Sanders. I don't know how you guys felt. I know he, Gainwell, and Boston Scott all had a rushing touchdown, a short yardage rushing touchdown. But I was really keeping track of who was in at the goal line. And there were definitely times, not at the goal line, but close to the goal line. There were definitely times when it was the other guy, but usually that was in the hurry-up situation. When they were substituting and declaring a goal line back, basically, it was typically Miles Sanders. And not to mention, he just got a lot more work than Gainwell and Scott. Gainwell had 7 touches, Scott had 4, and Sanders had 15. So for as long as he stays healthy, I thought this was very encouraging, and he might be a guy that we just start. What do you think?
I hadn't done the math yet. So it looked like there were 26 running back touches, and he got 15 of them.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's encouraging, slightly. He might be maybe he belongs in that 20 to 25 range instead of the 26 to 30 range at running back.
I mean, how many games do they have where they're going to play a defense like Detroit?
A lot.
Well, Minnesota next week, I think he can do okay there.
They play in the
Washington
NFC
after that.
East.
Right.
Jacksonville,
No,
Arizona, Dallas. It's a good schedule.
Yeah, the schedule's really good.
I'll take him over the Patriots running backs in a heartbeat.
100%.
Of course. You know,
Yeah.
the biggest worry that you've got with Sanders is that he's going to have a game where he has. Well, first of all, he could get hurt.
Hurt.
We've seen that from him before. And the second one is
Sanders
that
or
he could
Clyde?
have some games with some empty carries, where he has 3 or 4 nice runs between the 20s, and then he doesn't end up scoring.
Sanders or Clyde? Heath asked.
Yes.
Dave, Sanders or Clyde?
I think I'll take Sanders.
Sanders, Clyde. I'll take Clyde. I think all of the concerns that you have for Sanders, you could have about a lot of running backs. That's why they were drafted in that range.
Yep.
Would you take Darrell Henderson or Miles Sanders?
Sanders.
All right.
And Clyde's not catching 2 touchdowns every week. He might be responsible for a touchdown a little more often than he's been in the past.
All right, let me go to the next game. Pittsburgh 23, Cincinnati 20.
Still a little nervous about him, actually.
Heath, Pittsburgh and Cincinnati.
Believe it or not, if T. Higgins and Najee Harris are out, the top 2 waiver wire claims come from this game.
They won't end up coming from this game, and I'm not sure how much I love Warren. Like, I know we look good in camp and all that, but there's elements of this offense that make me pretty nervous.
Like all of it.
There's elements that lied to us during the
Like the entire collective thing.
Dave, I'm saying, man, this is the preseason, Like,
yeah.
I think they'll be up there for sure. Warren in particular.
Could I develop a shtick where I just say, like, I'm the fantasy guy who doesn't watch the preseason because you guys are just all getting dumber? And then not watch any preseason
How
football?
it feels.
If that gets you out of watching preseason football, then yeah, I'd sign up.
I'm
for
going to
that
try
too.
it next year.
Yeah, those guys are going to be hot waiver wire priorities, especially Tyler. But no, I mean, Warren will, since he's coming from such a low point, will obviously be on the most added list. Boyd won't be able to gain as much. He's 54, I think, % owned. So good start for Deontay Johnson, 12 targets. Claypool had 6. Pickens had 3. If you can exercise some patience with Pickens, then you should. And I don't know how much there is to talk about in this game. I just think it's hard to know who's going to be the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy, but these guys are going to freaking duke it out all season long. I would also say very loving 7 catches by Joe Mixon, which is picking up where he left off in the last 6 games of the 2021 season, including the playoffs. So he was catching a ton of passes.
He had to be
It helped
towards
that
the
his
bottom
quarterback
of the fantasy points per touch rankings this week.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't score, and he had 34 touches. He had 14. He had 21 PPR fantasy points. I think he was a top 5 running back, actually. Or he's up there.
Burrow threw 53 times. So
Yeah.
That's obviously playing into it and why he had so many targets and catches.
Chicago 19 and San Francisco 10.
Blech. Believe it or not, they need to break ground on the new stadium in Arlington Heights in Chicagoland. ASAP.
I was going to say the new grass they put down did a phenomenal job. It held up really well.
Okay.
After they squeegeed the field before the
That's
game.
pretty cool. I didn't even know you could squeegee grass.
Well, there's all kinds of backwards crap in Chicago.
Believe it or not, you can drop Cole Kmet.
No.
I'm
For who? For the guy who's going to have no catches next week? For Dawson Knox and Mike Gesicki,
I don't think anybody's
tight
dropping
ends.
anybody for Dawson Knox.
No, I'm just saying like that. This is tight. This is low end tight end.
Yes.
It is, but this isn't what we were hoping for with Kmet. We spent all offseason talking about how there's no one else other than Mooney in the passing game for Chicago. And literally no wide receiver or tight end had more than 1 catch for the Bears in this game. I don't think this is representative of the Bears at all. I'm keeping Kmet.
They did not complete a pass to a wide receiver or a tight end in the first half of this game. The offensive game plan, like the ghost of Matt Nagy, was in the headset. It was just disgusting. But they got the win, so maybe they'll do it again next week.
Amazing. And that's also kind of the ghost of Matt Nagy. Like, he kind of won sometimes until he didn't. Darnell Mooney, what's your panic level on Mooney?
It's low. It's the same as on Kmet.
Why didn't we have a panicometer?
Worryometer. Yeah, we should have worryometer. We'll do worryometer Wednesday
Okay.
for sure. Moni had one catch for 8 yards on 3 targets. Not a great game for Fields, and just let's the conditions.
I really think I think you have to throw out almost everything in this game for Chicago. And I think you might want to throw out everything in this game for the 49ers.
By the way, next time, before we get to the 4:00 games, we have 4 of them. Does anyone look more valuable right now than Travis Kelce? How bad was tight end today? I obviously not concerned at all about Andrews, but he didn't have a great game, and Pitts was dreadful.
Do you have the list of the top tight ends in fantasy this week?
We used to do a segment, like top 5 at each position.
I know. I didn't want the show to be 4 hours today because we just have so.
Well, we're working on it. We're 25% of the way there.
Yeah. Kelce, OJ Howard, Taysom Hill, Gerald Everett, Pat Freiermuth, and then Darren Waller, Tyler Conklin, Zach Ertz. Those were your top tight ends. And Kelce crushed them all. 26 points for him. OJ Howard at 17. All right, 4 more games to go. Here we go. Minnesota 23, Green Bay 7.
Yeah, believe it or not, A.J. Dillon's better than Aaron Jones.
No, I don't believe it.
I'm not ready to believe that yet.
A little scary, though.
Sure.
Believe it or not, Alan Lazard was a big winner today.
Oh, yeah. That's a great call. How about Watson dropping that deep ball? He was so open. It was a great throw.
Are we
It's
100%
right
sure that Rodgers is going to come back to work next week?
Yes, I think he will come back to work.
And
he plays Chicago. I would imagine that this is like the ultimate get right game for him.
It's a big game for the Bears.
Then it's Tampa, so it's going to go right back the other way.
No wonder this is such a great show. All 3 of our teams won today.
Oh yeah, that's right. The Bear, Dave.
That might be the first time in show history.
That has to be the first time in show history.
My team is the Miami Hurricanes.
Hey, there's the Vikings too.
Oh yeah, the Vikings. Chafee T. Repping the Vikings.
Let's go,
Skull, man. Oh, Justin Jefferson was pretty good today. There was an Aaron Rodgers. Okay. Aaron Rodgers threw his first interception against the NFC North since 2019. He had thrown 38 straight touchdowns without an interception against NFC North opponents, the longest streak in NFL history against divisional opponents. That is insane. All right, anything else from this game here?
I think Dave actually, I want to give him some credit since he's not on the stream right now and he won't hear it. I think Dave predicted on FFT that Aaron Rodgers would not throw a touchdown pass today.
It was my player prop. It was my best player prop of the week on the Early Edge Friday show.
And
favorite play. And you got huge odds on it.
Adam Thielen was a bit of a dud today. 3 catches, 36 yards on 4 targets.
That's a worryometer. Because if this offense tilts to just feeding Jefferson, a la the Rams with Cup, then how many games are we going to have? Thielen's just going to be right back to you got to have him score and do a little bit more just to be good.
I think when they play a more competitive team, they'll throw more. It'll be better.
Philadelphia next week.
A more competitive team. Oh, that's a juggernaut of a game there. Vikings at Eagles. And let's go. I think you should drop Irv. You should drop Cole Kmet for Irv Smith because while they both had 0 catches, Smith had twice as many targets. JK.
Oh, please.
Kansas City 44, Arizona 21. Thank you, garbage time for Kyler Murray. That was wonderful. Marquise Brown. What do you got, Heath?
Believe it or not, Patrick Mahomes is currently the odds-on favorite for the MVP.
No, I'm going to say Josh Allen.
Yeah. But those are your 2 leaders.
360 and 5.
It's pretty good. He did it against a bad Cardinals defense. Like this was a defense that I earmarked as being terrible, and they lived up to that expectation. It's a tougher challenge. Let's see if he gets 5 touchdowns against the Chargers next week.
Buy or sell, James Conner is going to be a stud this season. He had almost every running back touch until it was 37-15.
It was just inefficient again. It's the same story as last year.
I think he's going to be a number 2 running back.
All right. Yeah. Benjamin had 7 touches, but 6 of them came after it was a 22-point game late in the 3rd quarter. Marquise Brown had a garbage time touch. Oh, Greg Dortch. Can someone say something about Greg Dortch, please?
7 for 63.
That was a Towers special.
Yeah.
Towers was talking about, do you remember that, Azer, on the live stream?
Greg Dortch,
He
man.
loved him, Greg Dortch. Yeah, he was a preseason superstar for them, and they gave him an opportunity today.
See, Heath, this is why you have to watch preseason football for Greg Dortch.
For Greg Dortch.
7 catches, 63 yards on 9 targets. We'll talk about him on Tuesday. Chargers 24, Raiders 19. Weird that there were only 43 points scored in this game. Chargers 24, Raiders 19.
Yeah, I thought that would be a higher scoring game.
Believe it or not, we will be dropping Hunter Renfrow before October.
Before, yes. Oh, October? That's like very soon. Before November, definitely. I'm going to believe it.
It's approximately 3 weeks from now.
I guess. I don't love it.
Thoughts on Josh Jacobs? 10 carries, 57 yards. Brandon Bolden had 2 catches and a touchdown. Jacobs had just 1 catch. Dominated the carries, but not a great game script for him, I guess. But
I'm going to start him against Arizona next week.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man. I was
encouraged. Brandon Bolden was the passing downs back.
Yeah.
Not Amir Abdullah.
Austin Eckler did not score, but definitely was in near the goal line a lot. So that was good.
He was.
And are we shaking this off with Mike Williams? Bad week?
I probably will at least one more week. I'll probably wear 3 of these.
What?
You've got to go right back.
I said I'll probably wear 3 of these.
I don't know what that means.
Meaning,
like when you get hit by a pitch in a baseball game, they just say wear it. Just take it and go take your base. Like I'm just gonna. If he does this 3 weeks in a row, I'm just gonna start him 3 weeks in a row.
Right.
If we get to week 4, then we'll talk about it.
Next week, high scoring game theoretically, or at least it should be against Kansas City, and there might not be any Keenan Allen. Go right back to Michael.
Would you drop Cole Kmet or Irv Smith for Gerald Everett?
Oh, if I knew that there was no Keenan Allen, yes.
Yeah, that would be definitely influential there. All right, let's get to the game of the week. Best for last. Giants 21, Titans 20.
How clenched up were you when they went for 2? Because we had a big debate in the office about
first of all,
whether or not they should go for 2.
They absolutely should have gone for 2. It was a little over a minute left. It was 20 to 19.
I made the case for it. I wasn't as into it as you seem to be.
I knew they were going to lose on a game-winning field goal. The only thing that somehow the Titans missed it. But you go for 2 there. You absolutely go for 2. Why not? You don't want to play more. You don't want to play overtime.
Yeah.
So
I thought that,
and they should have been stuffed. Barkley made an amazing play to score on that. So the Tennessee really should have held him out of the end zone. But any takeaways from this game or any believe it or nots?
That's a question for Heath Cummings.
Yeah.
I think we talked about just about everybody, though.
Believe it or not, Kyle Phillips be better than Treylon Burks next week.
Next week is Buffalo.
It's going to be a tough week for them.
Buffalo's defense sucks anyway. Look, I tweeted congrats to the Titans on their game-winning field goal with a
right. We read that out loud.
That is an excellent reverse jinx. Well done.
First of all, a lot of teams going up or tying the game late. It's almost like, why are you getting excited? It is so easy to get into field goal range for these teams, right? I mean, so
yeah, it was good. It was a good reverse jinx.
I thank you. It finally worked. Yeah. All right. This game was pretty basic. Dontrell Hilliard. Unfortunately, Derrick Henry did not have the passing downs rule. Dontrell Hilliard didn't. He caught 2 touchdowns. Would he be the handcuff, do you think, for Derrick Henry? Dontrell Hilliard.
The most valuable one.
I think so, but Hassan Haskins was also up. Chestnut was inactive. I do not know what would happen if Henry were to go down with an injury. I'm not sure Hilliard's role would change that much.
Richie James over Kadarius Toney. And that will end our show. I'm going to go watch Sunday Night Football. Apparently, Dak Prescott has thrown at least 1 interception. And I am going to also do FFT and 5 with Chris Towers. We're going to give the biggest winners and losers from Fantasy Week 1. Thanks to Dave and Heath. Good night, everybody. Or if you're listening in the morning, have a wonderful Monday. And we'll talk to you soon. We have a Monday episode, actually, with Jacob Gibbs on Fantasy Football Today.